how do we find the sum of consecutive positive integers? Alright, well first let's make sure we know what that means. Sum means add, consecutive means in a row, and we know what positive means. Integers are numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the whole numbers and their opposites. But we're not using any negatives because it just says positive. Alright, so in other words, numbers like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say we went up to 5. So if the question was, what's the sum of the first 5 consecutive integers, positive integers, then we could add these up to see what we would get. And our goal is to find a pattern. So this could work for anything. So 1 plus 2 plus 3, that's 6, plus 4 is 10, plus 5 is 15. Alright. But let's try something out here. What if I took the average of the greatest and the smallest numbers, so 5 and 1. So if I did 5 plus 1, there's two numbers, so divide them by 2. And we would get 6 over 2, which is 3. And then how many numbers do I have? Well, there's 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can multiply by that number of numbers and I would still get 15. Alright, now if this is truly a good pattern that always works, or a good algorithm, then it should work if I try it with another example. So what if I did the first 7 positive consecutive integers? Well, there, if I add up the first 7, I'm just going to add 13 to that previous number, so that's 28 if I add them all up. Now let's see if our shortcut worked. Take the average of the lowest and the greatest numbers. So 1 plus 7 over 2, because there's two numbers, and 1 plus 7 over 2 is 8 over 2, which is 4. And then how many numbers do I have now? Well, it went all the way up to 7, right? So I have 7 numbers. So 4 times 7 gives me 28. So it does work every time. We've proved it. Alright, well now let's attempt an actual math counts question, which forces you to apply that pattern to a something that you couldn't just do by hand. In other words, the first 7 numbers, you can just add those up. But the first 1,000, that's going to be really time consuming. So now that we know our pattern, we just take the lowest number plus the greatest number. So we could say the lesser and the greater. So lowest plus the greatest. And then we divide them by 2 because we're finding the average of them. So our lowest here is 1, our greatest is 1,000, so 1 plus 1,000, and then we would divide it by 2. So it's 1,001 over 2. So half of 1,000 is 500, and then half of that 1 right there is 0.5, or a half. So it's 500 and 1/2, or 500.5. Alright, so that's our average. And then we need to multiply that by the number of numbers that we have. Well, how many numbers do we have? 1,000. So times 1,000. And this is pretty simple to multiply by 1,000. All you need to do is move the decimal this many times. So there's 3 zeros on 1,000, so I just go 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to hold a place value with zeros right there. So that would be 500,500. Alright. That was quick. And we didn't have to add up all the first 1,000 numbers. Alright, one more shortcut I want to talk about. What if we had the number 2005 point, or we could just say 200.5. How about that? So 200.5 times 3,000. What's a quick way we could do that other than lining them up and doing the multiplication? Well, a quick way is just to multiply by 3 and then tack on 3 zeros after we do that. That's the quickest way that I know of. So 3 times 5 gives us 15. Carry it. 3 times 0 is 0 plus the 1. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 6. We have one number behind the decimal, so it's 601.5. And now I'm just tacking on these 3 zeros from the 3,000. So it would be 1, 2, 3. That this is multiplied by, so it's getting bigger by. So I'm going to tack on 2 zeros there to hold place value. So that answer would be 601,500. And that shortcut will definitely come in handy. It can keep you from missing a place value when you're multiplying. All right. And now you know all about consecutive positive integers.